So, was I mistaken, or were you actually on the field pregame for the first time?
No,
in, like,
that was the first time. Yeah, felt good to be back down there.
So, take us through I know you go through benchmarking with QBs, and it's like it sounds like you take it for granted, but after 2 months ago, you don't take that for granted.
Yeah. What happened the morning of the Stanford game really helps you gain a lot of perspective on things in life, and taking your health for granted is probably one of them. So the incremental steps that have been taken, to get back to health, and just to be back down on the field for pregame, and really with what was on the line, kind of made you appreciative for everything that's happened since the Stanford game.
Since you can't be on the sideline, as you mentioned, how much have you in these raucous post-game locker rooms, like a Washington or even this past week, how much, like, are you basically like bubble boy in the court? Like, are you like what are they letting you do? Like how much are you allowed to like be around, raucous 18 to 23?
I try to stay as far away from the mosh pit as I can. So I'll just tuck myself in the corner and enjoy it from afar.
Do you see the game differently now, after time in the booth and now back down?
That's an interesting question. It had been so long since I had been up there to call a game, and my entire perspective had been from either a head coach play caller or primarily a play caller on the field. But being back up there, I think, as I mentioned a few weeks ago, it's a stoic, sterile environment. You've got a great view, and I'm really kind of enjoying it again, to the point where I'm not, if given the option again, I'm not quite sure which one I do, because I feel like I've been seeing it really well from up there.
How much have you reached out to or been reached out to Akron or any other university at all?
Yes. Any other university? Yeah, well, certainly it's the time of year where the carousel is spinning very quickly in some instances. And, I've heard or seen my name attached to, multiple openings, this cycle and, quite frankly, the past 2 years. But, all I can say is that all my focus and attention's on doing the things that are necessary to help our offense prepare to play well on Saturday.
When you look at that game, or this game itself, in a dome, elements aren't going to be a factor. They've been a factor for you guys the past 2-3 weeks. Do you prefer that, when you can actually let the game plan play itself out and not have to worry about weather-altering game script?
Absolutely. Play every game in a dome. Control the elements there. And, championship games that I've been a part of in the past, the Penn State one we played at the Colt Stadium. Didn't have any indoors at 1AA, but the MAC championship game we played at Ford Field. So, kind of look back to those situations, and they're ones where we've played pretty well under those conditions.
When you're building a game plan with the opponent you played so recently, is it a chess match? I mean, what's the thought? Has it changed at all how you prepare, in terms of you just played this team, you've seen them on tape really recently? How does that impact kind of building everything this week?
Yeah, we've added the Colorado game to the breakdown, because it's the most recent game, and kind of used the stuff that we had heading into the first Utah game. But they're a very well coached team, and there's going to be tweaks that they have, and there's going to be tweaks that we have. So I don't think you're going to make a huge overhaul and do something completely different. But there are things that certainly, from a tendency standpoint and a schematic standpoint, we need to be prepared for, and things that we need to do to change as well.
What did you see from Johnson being available for this game? Just DJ Johnson's availability for this game. Mario said he's going to play. Just how important is that?
Very important. DJ's played a critical role for us over the past 2 years, and he'll play both sides of the ball this year, and does a phenomenal job in the run game. And we get him the ball in some of those short passes. He's a big guy to bring down. So keeping our fingers crossed that he continues to progress, and excited for him to have a role in this game.
Let me ask you about Chris Hudson just stepping up. Sorry, so many questions. Yeah. Chris Hudson stepping up, though, because his production the last 2 weeks matches the whole season leading up to it.
Yeah.
Just what you've seen there, and obviously needed because of the injuries and everything.
Yeah, I'm very excited that Chris has stepped up with the opportunity that's been presented to him, playing both the Z and the H position. And I think the things that you've seen are him being able to get open and create separation, particularly in the spot with some of them over routes that were two critical plays in the Oregon State game. And he can make people miss after the catch. So he's gotten his opportunity. He seized it. I know Anthony's very comfortable throwing him the ball. So, young guy who's continued to get better and better.
After having the chance to watch the film from the Utah and Oregon State games, obviously very different outcomes, but what do you think allowed you guys to kind of find your stride and bounce back as an offense against the Beavers?
Yeah, I don't think it was anything where we completely changed our approach or our game plan. or how we called it. Quite frankly, I think it's the opposite. We stayed consistent, believed in what we were doing, and had a great week of practice. Hopefully called some good plays, and the kids executed them well. I think you look back to the Utah game, and it's not a situation where there were 10 3 and outs and we punted 20 times. We moved the ball in between the 20s in the first half, and missed a couple field goals, and had some drives that we didn't finish in the second half. So we needed to be better in that game on third down and in the red zone. So Coach talks about culture and our process, and I think adversity kind of introduces a man to himself, right? And we came out of that game, and nobody was happy, and we fell back on the things that are reflective of our culture, and I think that's why we were able to bounce back with a big win over a great opponent in Oregon State.
We talked after the Utah loss, Joe, about the running game. The lack of production was more about circumstance.
I believe that.
But this past week, in the first half, 4 runs on P and 10, 13 out of 18 on first. That's obviously, when you talk about sticking to who you are, how important will that be to sticking to that? And yes, I realize circumstance can dictate otherwise, but to trying to not allow for the circumstance to dictate to get away from the run game.
I think we perform best when we're balanced. And I know our P and 10 runs in this pass game, I think we may not have had a P and 10 pass. And that was another situation in the Utah game where we had multiple, I'm sorry, I'm so with my hands in the microphone. I get speak with my hands, that's it. But we got behind the sticks and kind of got us out of our element of being able to be balanced. And then in the second half, we were playing 4 touchdowns down. So for us to be successful, we've got to be able to do both, very well. And I think this past game was a great example of us being able to, I think it was 275 and 225 kind of around that. So got to be able to be balanced. Can't get behind the sticks.
With what you've gone through personally, Joe, and obviously that's much more obviously direct.
Yeah.
But Mario obviously also going through something personally with his mom here this past week plus. These are all the human things that fans. The fans in the stadium don't necessarily see a lot of this. Yeah. What is it? You're in the room. He's gone a little bit this weekend. Just what does this mean right now to the rest of the coaching room when he's out handling something very serious?
I mean, you're right. It's part of the profession that probably, I don't want to say doesn't get talked about, but we're it's a results-oriented business where people are expecting a quality product on the field, and they want wins, and talk about not making excuses, and I get that part, but there is certainly in every aspect of a coach's life a human element that's very real and very visceral, and whether it's a coach like me getting surgery and going down for a while, or coach's mom, that's a time where, like any family, you got to pull together, and we certainly had all of our thoughts and prayers with Coach and his family during that time.
Understanding that, again, you've come from being a head coach, want to be again at one point or another.
Yeah.
What goes through the decision-making process of, obviously you're well compensated here and you're in a good spot here, but opportunities will present themselves. What goes into the thought process, decision-making when those opportunities arise?
Yeah, they have, and they will continue to. But the 3 criteria I've always used in this order are personal, professional, and monetary. How does the decision affect you and your family, and how does it benefit them? Professionally, you have a chance to go somewhere where you can either sustain success or rebuild. And like you said, the monetary part, everybody likes money, but I've gotten to a point where, I grew up, my dad was a steel worker, had 3 jobs, and we were the lowest end of middle class you can be. So I still don't even know my ATM code, so I have to ask my wife for money. So the money part of it, yeah, we have some of it, but I don't have any in my wallet, and I have to ask her for an allowance. So that part's down a little further and down the trough right now.
In terms of disseminating that information, Joe, and whenever a decision may or may not arise, because you talk about being focused this week.
Yeah.
So I'm saying more anything after Friday.
There's nothing. We're preparing, and we're getting ready to play the game, and then we'll deal with anything that happens after that.
How do you handle players seeing that publicly? Your name being attached to other jobs.
They haven't brought it up. We're so myopic and focused on what we're doing right now that they understand, and Coach creates a culture of no distractions, and it hasn't even been brought up.
What are the decisions that from AB that he's made in the second half of the season, Joe, where that seems to be improved in all ways? The ball's not really in jeopardy almost at all. How is that different than first half of the season versus what we've seen in the last 6 games?
Yeah, I think there were times, there probably just wasn't that high level of consistency during the first part of the season, and I think since the UCLA game, really, We've seen a steady climb in execution, in production, explosive plays, protecting the football, and I think his level of confidence has really grown since that point. So I think a very mature guy, played a lot of football, but hopefully he's rewarded here when this list comes out, because I think he deserves it. I think he deserves to be an all-conference quarterback in this league, because I think he's one of the best.